All right, guys, let's review the weekly JavaScript challenge. As I said before, I have slightly changed some of the questions. The first one is a good example because to me, question number one was super easy. It wasn't intermediate at all. So what change I've introduced? So now the question looks slightly different. So now the idea is the same, right? We need to find where Wally is, but the problem is that now Wally can be presented in different case. You see, so for instance, on the first assertion, Wally is written as a proper name, starting with capital W. On the second case, Wally is written all in lower cases. And finally, there is a new assertion about the COVID-19 where Wally is written all in capitals. Yeah. That's the only change. We need to deal with the case. So let's create the function first. Function find Wally, and then I got an argument. We call it sentence. So the thing is, I want to find words. Because I want to find words, I would like to split my sentence into individual words. Yeah? And then I will use find to identify whether a given word is Wally or not. That's going to be my strategy. So return sentence dot find. I got a word, and then I can do word equal Wally, for instance. But the thing is, eventually, one of the assertions won't be able to find Wally. Wally isn't here. So if that's the case, so let's prepare it. So let me create a variable called found, for instance. So then I'm not going to say this is perfect. We'll see in a minute. So then I can say return. If I found it, then return it. Else return Wally isn't. Look, I need to escape the apostrophe, you see, because otherwise I have a problem with my quotes. Wally isn't here. Wally isn't here. Correct. So what do you think, guys? Will this work or not? Partially. That's it, Adam. That's it. So you didn't have that problem, I believe. You didn't have that problem. Yeah. So the problem was a bit easier because on every assertion, all the instances of Wally were written on with the same structure. So in order to make it slightly more complicated, we need to, as Adam suggested, let's convert everything to lowercase. Yeah, so it doesn't matter how Wally is written. We'll always compare the lowercase version of Wally against, obviously, Wally written in lower cases. So let's see if it works. So that didn't work, right? I did something wrong. All right, so let's try to find out what is wrong. Obviously, if you found it, please let me know. So the speed, the find method. Fantastic, Ian, fantastic. Yeah, that's absolutely the problem. You see, I'm applying find on a string called sentence. However, does find work with strings, guys? No. You can do includes. All right. So let me go back to includes in a minute. Before completely changing my exercise, let's stick to this pattern. So find, guys, only works with arrays. However, sentence is a string. So how can I transform my sentence string into an array that I can iterate somehow? Split. Well, not with the rest parameter. I don't think the rest parameter works here. However, Minji suggested using a split. A split and then what? Do we need a space, guys? A comma? Space? That's correct. Why, Ian? Why do we need a space, Ian? Exactly. Ian is absolutely right. So we want to separate all the individual words to see if any of them matches Wally. Let's see if it works this time. Yes, it does work. Yeah? So that's one of the options, one of the ways to solve the problem. You see, I created a variable, and then with that variable, essentially I'm trying to find whether I got something. So if I don't have Wally, for instance, I think on the third ascension, Wally is not listed as part of that sentence, what will be the value of found? False, wrong. What find returns when there are no instances of the expression we want to search? Wrong. That's not the way find works. Does anyone remember, guys, how find works? Wrong, 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 wrong. I think you gave me all the answers apart from the correct one. So if I do apple orange dot find fruit, and then I do fruit equal banana, what will this algorithm return, guys? Wrong. Undefined. Thank you, Adam. Undefined. That's correct. So find returns undefined if whatever you are looking for is not listed. Yeah, undefined. Correct. So if I got the fruit, sorry, if I got the Wally token, regardless whether it's written in capital, lowercase, whatever, then found will be a string containing it. So I will return it. Yeah. Otherwise, I will return Wally isn't here. But obviously, even though that's correct, you see that worked. I'm not a big fan of that coding technique. Why? Because whenever you got that, look, I can change that with something like that. Oh, sorry, let me go back. I can simply say, hey, why do I need a ternary? You can do that, right? If I essentially what I'm doing here is something like Wally or Wally isn't here. So what will that expression return at the bottom? Wally, correct, because that's truthy. Remember, guys, truthy or something else returns the truthy expression. It doesn't matter if it's written in capital, in lowercase, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it returns the first case. But what if find doesn't work? What if we don't got Wally at all? In other words, we got undefined or Wally isn't here. What will that return? Correct, the second argument. That's correct, Adam. Wally isn't here. Yeah. So that's why we can simplify the expression doing this. Also, something some people does, and I'm not necessarily a big fan of that, but technically speaking, we can even prevent from creating a variable. We can return sentence dot blah 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 blah, and then here, maybe with some parentheses if you want for readability purposes. Can do that. Let me remove the bottom, the bit at the bottom, you see? So we do return, try to find it, try to find the token of Wally. If you found it, that means the first part of the expression is truthy, return it. Else, you see the or expression works as an else, return Wally isn't here. Yeah? So that's an alternative, a different way of solving the problem. Once again, I'm not necessarily a big fan of that technique because I don't find that code structure particularly easy to read. But you know, if you want, that's definitely an alternative. Any question, guys? Any notes, thoughts about this problem? No? Someone, not sure if it was done, was suggesting to use includes. How's that, Dan? I mean, we can try that. Sentence dot includes what? Wally? Will it work, guys? What do you think? Because it's case sensitive. Originally, probably you solved the problem using includes, because at the time you faced that issue, we didn't care about the case. That's why I have changed the problem a bit, because that was too easy. That's a beginner question. Yeah, that's why I have changed it. You're right. Originally that worked. However, now that doesn't work anymore. If I run it, it only works. I mean, it doesn't work at all. It doesn't work at all. However, I look for Wally under the bed. All right, and why this doesn't work? Because now, so what is that algorithm returning? What is it? What does includes return, guys? So exactly, true or false, true or false. So that doesn't work. We will need to change it a bit. So if it found it, return then Wally or Wally, I don't know, or Wally is definitely not that simple. Yeah, that's why you cannot use it. So includes is very useful when you want to do something very simplistic like apple, banana. Yeah? If you want to know whether your list contains a banana, you can just find. Yeah, you can do that. Fruit equal banana. That's okay. Or there is an alternative which is using includes banana. Yeah? Includes is clearly less powerful than find. Why? Because includes you just pass a string and that's it, and it checks whether your list includes that string or not. However, with find we got a lot of control because we got this callback function. Guys, do you remember callback functions? That's what we saw in the last week. Thanks to this callback function that I'm highlighting, we can do whatever we want. We can convert fruit dot to lowercase. I don't know. We can do whatever we want, right? That's why find is equivalent to includes at some extent, but is way more powerful. Anything else, guys? No? Okay, so let me... can I share this snippet? All right, so let me show you. So I'm going to share the snippet in a second. So let me revert what I did so I can share it with you. Yep, cool. All right, so question number 2. The first one was, I believe, oversimplified. However, the second one was too much, was very difficult, right? Many details to look after here. So I have simplified the problem a bit. I mean, the only thing I've done, to be honest, is I have added that method at the bottom. You didn't got that. You didn't got that method at the bottom, right? So I have added that method to help on the process of checking whether any of the answers is true or false. Let's try to understand the problem. First of all, we got somehow a list of arguments. Yeah, the list of arguments is a list of people, and then for each person we got the name of the person, easy peasy, and then we want to each individual has returned a list of answers. Yeah, so they got 3 questions. Do you have children? Do you have driving license? Do you have higher education? Yes or no, right? But the thing is, every student or every person that got the question answered them differently. So some people answer with ones and zero. One, we assume 1 means yes, 0 means no. Some people said yes and no. Some people said true. So you know, it's a bit confusing. It's a bit confusing, right? Because everyone provided the solutions following a different style. So the idea behind this exercise is to normalize the answers into booleans. You see, has children, has driving license, or a higher education. True, false, true, false, true, false. That's the idea. I think it's a very interesting question because that problem is very typical when talking about software engineer. engineering. So you got a list of elements with different format, and you want to normalize them, because if every item has a different format, it's much harder to deal with it. Yeah. So we're trying to normalize a given data source. So adapt results. First things first. How many arguments the adapt results method has? So an object, two. Are you sure it's two? I can see only one here in the second assertion. I can see three objects on the third assertion. So how many? That's correct. That's correct. Not sure if that was Ian. We need to use the rest parameter, yeah, because we don't know how many arguments we receive. On the first case, we got two people, yeah. On the second case, we got one person. But on the third case, we got three people. So we don't know. We need to gather them all. Anyone remember how to gather a list of people? Correct. Rest parameter, and then create your argument. So what type of data people is? Array, correct. Array of what, Minji? That's correct. That's brilliant. We got an array of objects. So then, now we have an array of objects, and we want to return another array with the same size. Look, if the input array has two people, the output array has two people. If the input array has one person, the output array has one person. So what method in JavaScript transforms one array into another one of the same size? That's correct then. Map. Brilliant. So we do return people dot map, and then what? Then I have no idea. I have no idea. But that's the first step. Yeah. People dot map. Okay. So what do we return here? First of all, the name, it's easy. The name remains the same. You see, we are not transforming the name. We are not changing the case. We are not removing the last name. You know, it's copy paste. So can anyone tell me what's the value associated to the name? That's correct, Minji. Person.name. That's the first part. And now there is the tricky part. Answers. All right, let's create a new property called answers. Answers. And now what? That's the tricky part. Answers, it's an object. Yeah, has children true, has driving license false, higher education true. Originally, the only thing we got is an array. You see, we just got an array with numbers or strings or whatever. So the exercise is inviting us to use a new method called adapt answers. Yeah. So I'm going for now just to call it adapt answers, and I'm going to provide the input answers called person dot answers. Yeah. So person dot answers may be 1, 0, 1, or it could be, I don't know, true, false. You know, could be whatever. Yeah. We'll see in a minute. So you see that even though this is a particularly complicated problem, we are trying to delegate the responsibility of dealing with each bit into a smaller function. Yeah? In other words, I'm not going to touch the adapt results method anymore. For me, the adapt results method should remain as it is. So whatever is left is now responsibility of adapt answers. All right, so let's pay attention to adapt answers. So here it receives, let me call it original answers. Once again, original answers could be 1, 0, and 1. Yeah? And 1, 0, and 1, obviously the first one is true, the second one is false, the third one is true. So now we have an array of keys, has children, has driving license, and higher education. These are the questions. Yeah. So we have to transform 1, 0, and 1. Let me move it. Oh, sorry, guys. Let me move 1, 0, and 1 here, we need to transform it into has children true, has driving license false, and higher education true. Yeah, that's the idea. That's the idea. So let's pay attention to the problem. So here is my array of questions. My strategy, and you don't necessarily have to agree on that, is I'm going to use reduce because I'm going to iterate over each key here, and I will build an object somehow. Look, return questions.reduce, and now I will need two arguments. First of all, the accumulator, as you know, the accumulator, I will call it, the accumulator will eventually be, the accumulator will be the object you can see on the right hand side. Yeah, that's what I want to return. So let me call it answers, and finally each individual question. Because I want to build an object, I want to return an object, can anyone tell me what should be the default value of my answers? That's brilliant, Ian. Correct. That will be an empty object. And before I forget, answers, I will return it. But now, let's fill this empty object. You remember, guys, that if you got a user, an object like a user, let user equals name Peter, the way we can change the name is by either typing user.name equals Mario, or we can also use the square bracket notation. You remember that? So you can have a variable, let key, for instance, equal name. So then you can do user of key equal Mario. That's the square bracket notation associated to objects. And that's pretty much what I want to do here. So what I want to do here is answers. And now, can you think about what's the key? The first key is has children. How do I pass has children here in the square brackets? Questions 0. Isn't that the same as using just question, Adam? Because I'm using reduce. You're right. Technically speaking, you're right. I could pass index. I could pass the index, and then I could do questions of index. Yeah, but the reason why I'm using reduce is because I can access each individual key. Yeah, answers of that particular question equals, and now that's the tricky part. Because here we got our list of original answers. That's the tricky part, guys. So what's the value? Here, that should be true or false. We already have a method. We have a method that taking one or true or no or whatever returns true or false. In other words, we have to call that method. But now, how do we provide each particular answer to the user? We are one line away from or behind glory. So how do we pass each individual answer? How do we pass 1, or how do we pass 0, or how do we pass 1, or whatever? Okay, yeah, I like it. Index, and then what? Say it again, Minji. Correct. Original answers. What else? Brilliant. That's brilliant, Minji. You are absolutely right. So what are we doing here? We do A. For the first key, has children, point to the value associated to that index. So has children is index 0, right? Because that's the first element of the array. So now give me number 1, because that's number 1 is original answers. Here you got it, of index 0. Likewise, has driving license refers to the second element on the array. And finally, higher education points to the third element on the array. And I think that should work. Before I submit it, even though it's a bit complicated because you cannot see the algorithm completely. Can I zoom it out a bit? Just give me a second to see if I can. Yeah. Yeah. Let me show it to you end to end. So here is the algorithm, guys. What do you think? Can you see any problem? Will it work? Yes, no, why? Panos, Ebrima. You hope it works? All right, let's have a look. So if we run it, yes, it does work. Yeah, we got confetti time. It does work. And now, questions. Are we using the what? Sorry. Are we using callback function? Well, you should tell me that. How many callback functions you see in this exercise? Okay, what is the first one, Minji? That's correct. You're right. You're right. So the first callback function is here. Yeah, because we got a function that receives another function as an argument. That's correct, Minji. And what is the second callback function? That's correct. You're right. Don't hesitate that much because you're absolutely right. You see, that's the second callback function because we have another function. I mean, guys, easy peasy. Every time you see the arrow function symbol, this is likely to be an arrow function. That's it. Yeah. So this is an arrow function and this is an arrow function. What else, guys? Questions? I can't believe you don't have any questions. This is arguably the most complicated question on the entire intermediate JavaScript training. So I'm 100% sure you have hundreds of questions here. Yes. Empty object. No, empty object. Careful, Dan. Empty object, not empty array. Yes. Well, it depends. It depends. It depends. So that's the default value of the accumulator. If you want to sum multiple numbers, yes, of course, you got zero because you want to. Where do you start counting? A bunch of numbers at zero. You got 0 plus 1 plus 2 plus whatever. Yeah. But here we don't want to add numbers. We want to build an object of answers. You see on the right hand side, on the left hand side, sorry, answers. It's an object. So we want to fill key value, key value, key value on that object. That's why the initial value is an empty object. I don't know. You tell me, guys. Does it work like that? All right. So if you're not sure, iteration number 1. What's the value of answers? Done. That's correct. So what's the value of the question, Dan? No, you got all the information you require is highlighted here. 0. What do you think? Anyone, guys? Is 0 the first value of the question? Ian is right. Why, Ian? Can you tell Dan why the first question has driving license? That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. That's brilliant. That's fantastic, Ian. That's correct. As we have deleted the default value, you remember, guys, reduce will take, if there is no default value, will take the first element on the list as the default accumulator. So the first answers will be has children, and that means that the first value will be the following one, the following element, which is has driver license. That doesn't look good to me. That will clearly fail at some point. That will clearly fail, yeah, because we are not building any object. What is the object here? That's not correct. However, let's pass again an empty object. So give me a second. So question for Adam with the empty object. So what's the first value of answers? That's correct. That's an empty object. So now, Panos, what's the first question? That's correct. That's correct. Panos has children. And now, what do we return then? Zero. What do you think, guys? Are we returning 0 on the first iteration? Yeah, the index is 0, but we are not returning. I don't see, Dan, I don't see where you see return index. We don't have that. We return answers. All right, who else wants to participate? What do you think, guys? We are returning after the first iteration. But that's what? What type of data is that? As an object, correct? And then what's the key of the object? Is that, I think that's a prima, right? So what's the key of the object, a prima? And what's the value? Why true and not false? Mm-hmm. Yep, that's correct. We are passing number, well, assuming the original answers is an array with 1, 0, and 1, for instance, yeah? So, as Prima said, if we are passing number 1, answer equals to 1, definitely answers includes 1. Here you go, right? So, that will be transformed from 1 to true. That's correct, Prima. That's correct, Prima. So now, on iteration, let me simplify that a bit for readability purposes. On iteration number 2, what's the list of answers? Minji. Correct. Let me simplify it, otherwise I'll run out of space, right? So children, true. So what's the next question, Panos? Correct, has driving license. So what do we return, Adam? Why false? Correct. Brilliant. That's brilliant. That's fantastic, guys. Correct. Let me remove the first iteration. Let's complete it, guys. Iteration number 3. As children, then like I'm simplifying the keys, yeah, just for readability purposes. So iteration number 3. What's the list of answers? I'm actually ignoring Ian. Don't ask me why. I type Panos twice. Sorry, Ian. Ian, what's the list of answers? Correct. Children true, license false. Yeah, perfect. Brilliant, brilliant. And what's the next question, Dan? Correct. Higher education. So finally, what do we return, Minji? Correct. License false. Education. Yeah, it's a bit hard to read, right? But that's correct. That's absolutely correct. Yeah. What happened on iteration number 4, Panos? Perfect. Correct. There is no iteration number 4. Consequently, the highlighted object will be the return one. Yeah. And that's pretty much it. You can see when you break it down, when you break the example down, it's not that complicated. We are essentially transforming an array of numbers, you can see here, into an object containing a list of key value pairs. That's what essentially we are doing here. What else? More questions, guys? Nothing? Hello? Yeah. Yeah. Of course. You got the code on Slack already. That's correct, Minji. Includes always returns a Boolean value. So if I got Minji ebrima dot includes Panos, what will that return? Correct. And if I got Minji ebrima includes ebrima, what will that return? That's correct. And what if I do Minji and ebrima includes ebrima all in capitals? What will that return? That's correct. Yeah? That's the way includes works. It's very simplistic. So if you are trying to find the ebrima ignoring the case, that may not work, or you may have to transform the data. I don't know. So at some point includes, yeah. Panos, you have a question? That's a good question. Yes. As we will see on the 7th week of the bootcamp, some methods work on both arrays and strings. So back to the banana orange includes orange, that will clearly return true, right? But also, if we got Peter includes E, what will that return? Correct? Yeah, you see? The beautifulness of JavaScript is that we can perform some sort of polymorphism. So we got different inputs, different data types, yeah? An array and a string, but technically speaking, we can apply the same method in both cases, you see? Anything else, guys? Hello? Cool. So let's do, actually I click somewhere. Let's do question number 4, because I think no one has solved question number 4. So let's finish this session by reviewing it. I think my browser is frozen. Oh God, it's now out of control. So Let me let me try to bring the control back. It shouldn't take long, I promise. So 1 second, please. Oh, what the hell? Oh, so slow. Oh. Hello, Google Chrome. Stop ignoring me, please. All right, so let me quickly try to refresh the page. I would like to solve question number 4. The question number 4 was, once again, overcomplicated, in my opinion. Yeah, there were many details we should look after. So I would like to go through it bit by bit. I've done two things. First of all, I have simplified the exercise a bit, and on top of that, I have added a new assertion to clarify the what was expected a bit more. So once again, let me go. Let me present the exercise in mobile mode. Apologies for the lack of performance of my laptop. So update prices. Let's try to understand the problem. We receive an array. Yeah. Oh, what is my code? Hello. Here you go. We receive an array of products. Yeah? You're going to Tesco, you want to buy some products. I think it's good timing. So what's the plan? The plan is because of the international shortage of given materials or source materials, some products will increase their price. So we have a catalog, we have a database of products, for instance, chair and table. And then, as you can see later on, you have a list of products that will increase their price. So we want to list all the products within that catalog that will increase their price 5 quid. Yeah. So how do we know which products will increase their price? Only the products that are made out of these materials will increase their price. For instance, chair. Chair is made out of timber. Is timber listed here? Yes. Then increase the price from £20 per unit to 25. Likewise, table is the same material, so we'll also increase the price. On the second assertion, we got candles. Candles are made out of wax. Is wax one of these materials that are, on demand and then we need to increase the price? Yes, wax is listed here. So instead of 5, the unit price of each candle will cost now 10. Third exercise. The materials that will increase the price are glass and cotton. Is the toothpaste made of either glass or cotton? Thankfully, it's not made out of glass, right? Well, otherwise, we'll have a public health issue. It's made out of some chemicals, so it's not going to change the price. What about the air plugs? Air plugs are made out of wax, so wax is not listed here. So nothing changes here. You see, nothing changes here because both products are safe. They are not made out of any of these complex or special materials. And the last one. Look, toilet paper. Are you struggling with toilet paper these days, guys? So that's a good example. We have two products, toilet paper and bleach. And there is a worldwide shortage of paper. So there is no shortage of chemicals, but there is some shortage of paper. So in this particular case, the problematic product is the toilet paper. So we are going to increase the price from 1 quid per roll to 6 quid, okay? Which is a bit unfair. But let's ignore the semantics of the exercise for a second. So the first question is: Did you understand what are you expected to do here? Because the thing is, if you didn't get the question, it's literally impossible to find an answer to a problem you don't understand. So that's the first question. Do you understood what you are expected to do from a human point of view? Did anyone now struggles to? I'll tell you something. I had to read the problem like 4 times to fully understood what it was expected to happen. Yeah. So, does anyone has any question regarding the human description of the problem? Oh, good, cool, awesome. Thank you, guys. So now on the right hand side, let's do some coding. So update prices. Update prices. So first of all, we got a list of products, and then we got a list of materials. Yeah, materials that will increase the price of the products immediately. Technically speaking, we could declare two arguments, right? Like, I don't know, material A and material B. But can anyone tell me how to make this exercise a bit more generic? So if, because of whatever reason, any of these algorithms receives one argument or four arguments or four materials, it should work again. So how can we gather all the materials? That's correct, correct. Let's just do it, call it materials in plural. Yeah. So now, return products. I have a list of. Let me create a variable instead. The variable is going to be called more expensive products. So if you get a list of products, how can you return a subset, a smaller list only containing elements that match a given condition? Correct. Why filter instead of find? That's correct, Minji. That's correct. If we use find, products.find, it may work if we have a single element, like the candle. But for instance, on the first assertion, both the chair and the table should be displayed. So we cannot use find. We need to use filter. That's the first thing. Filter. We'll filter out our products. And then, what else? Imagine that we managed to identify which products should increase the price. Eventually, we want to display a string. Yeah. So, for each filtered product, we want to display a message. So once we filter, how do we transform an array, chair, table, whatever, into another array containing some messages? How do we transform an array into another array? Map, that's correct. So first of all, with filter, keep only the products with increased price. Then with map, we'll format a user-friendly message per product. And finally, with map, we still have an array. So how do we transform the array of a chair now costs 25 dot, and then another array, a table now costs 35 dot? How do we transform that into a proper human-friendly sentence? Fantastic. Well done, guys. Brilliant. Join what? A space. That's correct, because we are joining the sentences with a space. Yeah. For now. We may change a few things here. So filter is clearly the most complicated step in this problem. Yeah. So with filter, we got a product, and then we want to check for each product. For instance, the first one, the chair. We want to check if that material, timber, is part of that list of materials. How do we do that? You got the list of materials. Can we do materials dot what? Fantastic. Product dot made. Brilliant. I made it wrong. Correct. That's absolutely brilliant. You want to see if that list of materials could be cotton and wax, dot includes cotton, for instance. Yeah? That's literally what we are doing here. Yeah? We are just keeping the products that are made out of one of these special materials that everyone is demanding now. And then once we got that, now let's format the message. So to format the message for each product, we just need to build a human-friendly expression like whatever now costs whatever. Something like a chair now costs 25. That's obviously wrong because we will be hard coding. We will be displaying chairs all the time. So how can I replace chair and the price of the product? That's a good question. I don't know. Type. Yeah. Yep. And finally, what else? Product.price. That's correct. Y plus 5 then. That's correct. That's brilliant. That's absolutely correct. Yeah. If we are still alive here, that means these products should increase their price. Can we destructure, guys? Can we destructure everything? Actually, I don't want to type the word product at all. Here on the filter, can we destructure that product variable? How do we do that, Minji? What else? Type. I don't care about the type here in this filter. Equals product. I'm not following you. Why equals product? Yeah, I did that already. Curly braces made. And then what else? Correct. We don't need. That's correct. Anything else, guys, in this line? That line is not correct. Look, VS Code is complaining a lot. So that's correct, Ian. That's brilliant. Remember, guys, when you do the structuring, you always have to surround the structure object with with parentheses. That's brilliant, Ian. And now I got a question for either Panos, Ebrima, Dan, or Adam. How do we destructure the map? Yeah, same process, but it tells me nothing, Ebrima. You need to be a bit more specific. Brackets, and then what? Parentheses surrounding the brackets, right? Okay, and then what? Say it again. The, the name. What's the name? Type, correct. And the other one? Price, that's correct. So now we can get rid of the explicit reference to the product. Yeah? And I hope you agree with me. Now the human-friendly expression is a bit more readable because it's just shorter. Yeah? Cool. What do you think, guys? Will this work or not? Why not? That's correct. There is a special case. There is a special case where we don't have to increase the price of any product, thankfully. Yeah? Which is good for humans, but it's bad for, well, it's not bad. It makes everything more complicated. Yeah? So how do we control that? All right, let me do something. Let me, first of all, keep only the array with the more expensive products. So now, can I do return? How do I check if that array of more expensive products has any product or not? Brilliant, brilliant, Adam. Would you check the length of the array? More expensive products. What else? The length is greater than 0. Then, yeah, more expensive products. We essentially bring what we did before back. Yeah, we complete that journey. Else, what happened? Otherwise, same price, correct? Same price. Let me check the syntax. Same prices in plural with exclamation mark. It's very easy to lose some points here on the accuracy because of typos. You know, capital characters, exclamation marks, plurals, all these sort of things. All right, what do you think? We need to indent it. That's very interesting. What's wrong from an indentation point of view? So you think that's let me disagree with you. Let me disagree. Yeah, I'm with Ian. Let me disagree with you guys. Let me disagree with you. Look at that line. Yeah? Return more expensive product length. Then look at where we start. This is the if. Look at where we start the if. You see? Oh, sorry. If starts here. So if the if starts here, the else should start there as well. Why we're indenting map and join? Because these two methods belong to the more expensive products array. Yeah, but if else, I think is correctly indented. Anything else, guys? Is there any elegance warning? Brilliant. They are absolutely right, Adam. Anything else? No means it's going to work. Yep. Ah, that's a really good question. So the question is whether we should use backticks here. I'll tell you something. I don't used to do that, but as far as I know, and if you find any relevant source of information telling the opposite, please let me know. As far as I know, there are no issues of doing that. Actually, there are some advantages. You know why? Because what if I have an apostrophe? What if I do let's go? You see? That's not correct. I need to escape it, which is okay, but I have to escape it. Yeah. However, if I'm using backticks, I don't have to escape anything. So the code becomes slightly easier to read, in my opinion. Does it make sense? Everywhere? I don't have any strong arguments against backticks. The only thing will be if I'm using, guys, first of all, let me test it because we have 1 minute left. See if I did something wrong. It's okay. Brilliant. So let me share that on the Slack, first things first. And then on the last 40 seconds. So if you use single quotes, can you add a break line? No, that's wrong. That code is wrong. However, with backticks, that code is correct. That code will actually generate a break line on the user interface. Is that bad or is it good or bad? I don't think that's either good or bad. Yeah, but you need to be careful. You need to be careful because by accident, you may be creating a valid code that generates a weird output with single quotes. Oh, sorry, you see, got the timeout. With single quotes, it doesn't work. So you cannot fail because you'll get an error. But with backticks, you may be creating a valid code that doesn't represent what you wanted to build. Anything else, guys? Cool, fantastic. Something we are planning to do is at some point, not sure how long will that take. At some point, I would like to add from the code review view, yeah, where you find all the questions. I would like to add some sort of play button somewhere here. So, for instance, if you want to play with any of the questions in particular, then you should be able to access them directly from this view. Otherwise, it is sometimes a bit complicated, I admit, to find. If you want, what if you want to play with, try to find Wally question again? Where is that question? It's not that simple. It's not that simple. You need to remember where is it on the training. Yeah. So I would like to add a shortcut to simplify that process. Anything else, guys? No? Cool. Once again, I found that challenge slightly more difficult than usual. However, I think you did really well. You did really well. So just keep practicing, keep training, because you managed to defend your solutions quite well, considering the difficulty of the challenge. Yep. So that was it, guys. If you got any question, Esteban and myself, we are on Slack. So thank you very much, guys. See you later.